Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. Glad you're here this Monday morning, getting a week started off right with Panhandle Outdoors. We appreciate your viewership, and we're going to try to do the best we can to give you all kind of good information on our great outdoors here in the Florida Panhandle. The weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at the corner of Baldwin Road and Highway 77. Remember, check out all the programs there. They're getting underway now. Don't forget the deadline for the aviation classes this week, so make sure if you want to sign up for the aviation class, get on by there this week. All right, now let's look at the temperature is going to be around 88. Now, it says it's not getting in the 90s, but I hope that's the beginning. Don't take my word for it. I'm just hoping it's the beginning of some kind of cool weather. It has just been, we've talked about it every morning almost, how hot it's been for these outside guys who are doing all this work outdoors. It's just amazingly hot. A low of 78. The water temperature stays at 85 degrees. Let's take a look at our tide. Let's go ahead and look at the tide chart. Let's look at it first. It looks really good today. It's brought to us by Kent Forest Lawn Funeral Home and Cemetery. Today is September the 8th. Good tides, but look at the rest of the week now. We're not going to have flat tides in it. We just won't have any really strong tides, and they're going to be high at 10-12 this morning and low at 6:36. So we do have some good movement in there. And let's go ahead and look at our Monday moon forecast. Like every Monday, see what's going on. And folks, we're at the full moon. It looks like it's going to be full about 3 days in a row here, but it's going to be really strong. And I was looking at it the other night. It's really beautiful this time of year. The September and October moons are really nice. So we're looking at a good full moon now. So this weekend now, that moon's going to start going down. It might be a good, but the following weekend is going to be an excellent time to go floundering. All right. Marine forecast will be southwest at about 9 miles per hour. We'll take our break and come back with our guest. All right, welcome back. Welcome, Captain Rick Corley.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, but I know we're talking about this heat and all. I know you you can't do your boats indoors. It has been hot.
Well, sometimes if it's a small boat, we'll get them to leave it in the barn or whatever, so you're not right out in the exposed heat. In some cases we can, but others, what we're trying to do is start earlier in the morning, get through before the real heavy heat, and I try not to work in the afternoon, somewhere around 2 or 3. Now, yesterday we had it all day, but I was lucky enough the boat had air conditioning aboard. But when it has air conditioning, we try to do all of our outside stuff early in the morning, and then when we're inside, we've got air conditioning, so that's a little bit better. But when you start getting triple digits, you have to be very, very, very careful, because you can have heat stroke or heat exhaustion in good short order. We carry lots of water, ice water, and green tea, cold, and I stay away from soft drinks because it's got sugar in it. That really doesn't help you. Once in a while, I'll carry a ginger ale. That's pretty good when it's really hot. But I hydrate a lot. I go through a lot of water.
That's good words to the wise right there. And I tell my students, and we talk about it all the time, especially when you're out on a boat, your heat and everything just going to sap your energy and sap your strength. And we're talking about hydration. Let's talk a minute. I know Rick's our boat expert. We always come to him about boating questions, but a lot of y'all don't know he loves to shoot a gun, and he's got a lot of good guns and all. And we talk off air. We talk about guns. Must be talking about boats sometimes. But I know you and I are both excited about this new shooting range coming up here at the Steel Field.
Yes, I am, because I like to pistol shoot. I'm a member of SAS. I don't get to participate much. There is a Single Action Shooters Society. They're actually out of Chipley, and they've been using the range over at St. Joe. But if they wind up, they can use this one. It'll be a little more convenient, and they probably could get more members, and that'd be a good thing. But if they can set up a Single Action Shooter Society, a lot of people don't realize that's a big thing all over the country. There is a lot of people that like to do that, and that type shooting, it requires that you use either a 6-gun black powder. There are certain calibers that you have to use, and it's all back. The most modern round you can use is a 45 ACP, because they had them come out, and some of the westerns actually used 45 automatics
Wow.
when they're in their first heyday, and the 1897 Winchester pump shotgun. I think that's pretty much the most modern of those firearms. But
we've talked about them for a while. I'm gonna get over there pretty soon, and especially if they get up here to the local shooting range and video some of that shooting and all.
Yeah.
Those guys are pretty good shots.
Well, some of the girls are too.
Yeah, girls, yeah.
The women get out there, and you shoot a pistol, a rifle, and a shotgun, all in the same sequence, and they're usually using either double barrels or like I say, 1897 Winchester pumps.
Well, I've been checking the specifications on this range, and looks like the rifle range is going to be about 100 yards.
And which is fine.
Which is going to be good. You can sight it in good there, and from 50 to 100 yards. And the pistol looks like it's going to be around 50 yards. So
and that's fine, because that'll give you good long-range pistol shots. And at the same time, I like to shoot at about 25 meters with a pistol. Now, I got me a brand new, and I hadn't even get to shoot it. And I'm looking for, when they get to long range open, I've got a Savage that I bought at Money Miser. The Model 10 that's got a 10-round box magazine, 308, but it also has silencer and a Harris bipod and the Nikon 4.5 to 14 scope. That ought to be a tack driver. I've got it zeroed by the laser, but I don't know if it's on yet. And I want to take it out and shoot it.
Well, that's just going to be such a big plus. But I was looking also, they're going to have like a phase 2. Once they get everything set up and then get people coming to it and all, they're going to put up a second phase, and that's going to be trap and skeet shooting. And I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah. That's always a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And they're asking, I think they got some job openings over there. Some of you retired people may want to work part-time. They're also asking for some volunteers and all. So that's a good thing for our whole area, whole Panhandle area.
It is. People talk bad about guns sometimes. A gun is a piece of machinery, just like a car. If you misuse that car, you can kill people. You misuse that weapon and don't learn about it, you can hurt somebody. But if you learn how the weapon used and how to use it, it's just like that car. You learn how to drive and drive defensively, it's safe.
Yeah.
It's that simple. It has nothing to do with the weapon. It's all with who's behind it and how they're trained.
And I've mentioned this time and time again on this show. My dad was in World War II, and he had such a respect for guns, and he passed that down to my brother and I. And we didn't have a fear. We just had a high respect for weapons
I feared my dad. My dad, we kept him, and he was one of those. We had loaded guns in the house, all over the place, but I never touched them. I knew where they were at, but if he didn't say I could pick it up and look at it, I was not worried about the gun. If I picked that thing up without his permission, I was worried about him. He'd beat me up. No. And that's what it's about, is the training and discipline.
And this range is going to provide that where parents or uncles or aunts or grandparents can take young people out there. And I'm sure there'll be age limit, but you got to take them out there and just teach them some safe shooting, safe handling of a gun.
Well, it's like that young girl that got hurt with the Uzi. That was rather foolish. Because an automatic weapon, once you pull the trigger, you go. That shouldn't have been. My granddaughter will be 5. Now, she doesn't know it and she doesn't have it, but I bought her one of those little Savage Rascals, single shot. I'm going to wait till next year, the same age I was. I was 6 years old when my dad used to take me out to Fort Benning in the parachute loft, and we'd stay in there. We were in the shade and shoot out into Lawson Field, because on the weekends the soldiers weren't out there, and the general had given my dad permission, and that's where I learned to shoot pistols and rifles, and even shotguns. It was an open field. It was parachute jump zone, but they had parachute lofts out there where they'd dry the chutes after they'd land. They'd wash them and hang them there to dry. Well, they were open, so you could stay in there and be cool, but at the same time shoot. And that's where I learned, and I started when I was 6 years old with a little 22 break top Smith & Wesson pistol, 7-shot, shooting cans, But I learned, and I've never been hurt by a firearm, and I've never come close to hurting anybody by a firearm, because I learned the proper way to do it from a child. And it's just like I learned to drive a boat when I was 10 years old. I learned to drive a car when I was 12. I learned to fly when I was 14.
All right.
All of it before they said you're supposed to.
Yeah. Look, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. So here with Captain Rick Corley talking about guns and boats and red snapper and all kinds of stuff. Let's look at our fishing times right now. If you're going out today, there's only one time. Mark Coward of Edgewater Beach Realty is number 832-6000, and our time is from 12:17 to 2:17. It's one of those days where we just have one time. And I've got a chart I'm gonna put up here, and it's interesting. I'm not getting a lot of detail about it. I've just picked it up, and we're gonna talk more about it in detail. But I want you to sort of look at it. We're talking about a red snapper. I know we've beat that dog before, but if you can look at it, and the blue. Okay, it goes way back to, this is from NOAA now. This is not a chart put out by anybody. And we're looking at, from on the left, 2005 all the way to 2014 on the far right side.
Right.
The blue is is the population of 2-year-old red snapper, all that blue, dark blue area. The red at the bottom of the line is how much we have harvested. So this is a amazing chart right here. And you can see when it went from the limit on the 4 limit all the way about halfway to the left there, and then limit 2 on the right. So we're going to talk more about this, but just fascinating to know that we've always said that many 2-year-old red snappers out there. So we're going to follow up on it. I'm going to try to get some folks from NOAA to come on the show and explain it to us and help us understand this a little bit better. Okay. Now we're talking about red snapper. I always think about boats, and which leads me to think about hurricane season. I know. We were talking about the landmark shot we had here was 1995 when Opal hit.
Yep.
And you were talking about, you brought up a good point about where they form.
Yeah. By that time of the year, and the Gulf is so hot, most of the time, and if they come through like normal in the earlier part of the season, they either hit the tip of Florida and then they go on over to West Texas or Mexico. Or if they miss the tip of Florida, they may turn in and get New Orleans and Mississippi coast and occasionally Alabama coast like Frederick. But if we get one here, most of the time I've noticed over the 50-something years that I've been here watching them, they came out of the Bay of Campeche, which is between the Yucatan and Veracruz, Mexico there. Progreso in the Yucatan, that's the Bay of Campeche down there, and they make up there, and then they have a tendency to track northwest out of there. Well, Opal did that and was coming, and of course I watched it till about midnight, and I told my wife, I says, I'm going to lay down and get some sleep, but I want to wake up at 5:30. I want to see what this thing's doing, because this thing is a steamroller. It's a Category 5. We're going to get out of here. We had our cars ready, loaded, everything ready to go. We just want to see what we had to do. Got up at 5:30. It had picked up speed and intensity, and I said, we got to go now. So we got out ahead of the big rush. At 7 o'clock, they gave the order to evacuate. We were already up the road an hour. We went up to Graceful and stayed at the Armory up there. But I told him, I says, I'm watching these 2 fronts come down. There was a couple cold fronts. And I said, if that comes down, they won't penetrate a front. They'll either absorb the cold air out of that front and stay right along the front edge of it, or the front will back up a little bit, or the hurricane will turn. Well, the hurricane didn't turn, but it sucked a lot of that cold air out of those fronts in the back of it, and that brought it down. And when it got here, it was just a strong Category 2. We still had a lot of water surge, and water surge is what does most of your damage. Most of your damage happens within 2 blocks of the water. And when I did Camille over there, that's what was devastating. It was not the wind so much. Well, the wind did a lot, but the water did more. The water was the dangerous part.
And they had lowered it. I know it's hard to believe, but next October will be the 20th anniversary of Opal. It's hard to believe. 19 years ago this October. And we're certainly going to do something. I have a lot of pictures I want to show. I know you've got pictures galore of boats and all, but what people didn't realize was it was at one time a Category 5. And it had pushed, by being that strong, it had pushed a lot of big water out in front of it. And that's what caught people off guard, that storm surge.
Yeah, and you see off of Bay St. Louis and Biloxi and Gulfport, you got barrier islands out there about almost 12 miles offshore. And it's shallow water. All that water's only 8, 9, 10 foot deep. Here, we got 65 feet of water 2 miles offshore. You got a lot of water that can be pushed. And when that happens, I mean, no, we don't want one here.
No, we don't. We've been fortunate and all, but we've had a lot of people move in the past 20 years since Oakland, and they have no idea the ferocity and the damage it can do. And that's why we talk about it on a regular basis.
I tell people all the time, if it's a Category 1, I'm 2 blocks from the water. Mm-hmm. I'm not going anywhere. If it's a Category 2 and it's going in on that side of us to the east, I'm not going anywhere. If it's Category 2 is coming in just to the west of us, I'm leaving because that's going to put us on the front side. Mm-hmm. If it's anything more than that, I'm out of here. I've got good insurance, and I'm going to load up my real essentials, and I'm going inland at least 50 miles and find a good place to hunker down.
And you're talking to a veteran who's been here,
since
been around
54.
all your life, you know what they're going to do.
Flossie, Opal, Aaron, all of them,
And it really, in summertime we don't have much of them, but really September and October would really start looking out for them.
And of course, my dad used to work all of the hurricanes, and I worked them. My first job as a surveyor was working Camille in 1969. Mm-hmm. I started on August the 20th, 1969 as a surveyor.
They brought you in on the big one then. They didn't graduate you up. You started.
Throwed me right into the cage with a line and says, knock yourself out. Yeah.
All right, let's take our final break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. Sitting here with Captain Rick Corley, we're talking about all kinds of things. We want to show, got a couple of pictures to show you. A lot of people are interested in that panther. The FWC is doing this panther study now, trying to get people with all our game cameras, trying to get them to send in pictures. And the big thing is, they said for years now, the only panthers located are in southwest Florida, but they did verify one north of Interstate 4, which is a big deal. Now, and remember also, they can travel and they're very elusive, very hard to see. And this is a picture I showed the other day. People want to see it again. So this is right here in the center there. You're going to have to look really hard. Right in the center is a silhouette. And I've looked at it all.
Just to the right of that tree.
Look at there, I've looked at it all weekend and all. I think it looks like a panther to me. And
it is.
William Crabb has seen it. And, of course, they took it a while back on East River, off of East River, and we're going to send, or he's going to send it down to FWC and let those biologists look at it. I just can't, I just believe there are panthers up here. Some part of me just tells me we still got panthers up here in the Florida Panhandle. Yeah. But all the biologists deny it, and they say, they got to say, show me the panther. So hopefully, if y'all get a panther pictures, let's send those in and all, because we really want to get those protected. If they're in an area, we certainly want to know about it.
Well, I know we had them when I was a kid growing up right there where Bay Point is.
Yeah.
They were all out in there. And over probably 20 years ago, they had one that was in Woodlawn. It was coming up and getting tater chips and stuff like that off the picnic table. So I still think there's something here.
Well, we got a couple more pictures to show you real quick, too. They'll come up over the weekend. This is a bear picture, and we're going to have plenty of bear pictures. This is the first one here. This was last winter, really, but that's a good, healthy-looking bear.
Yes,
okay?
It is.
And I'm going to show you a red snapper picture. Ooh. This is a Southport boy living in Louisiana. That's Ricky Southall, and Ricky grew up in Southport. The family's there, and Ricky stays in contact with us, and that's a nice red snapper. He works the oil industry now, welding industry and all, and lives in Louisiana, but he sure misses Southport, he says. But snapper season pretty healthy out there in Louisiana.
Yeah, it is.
And then the final picture here, we're starting. This is the first picture we have sent in of. This is a recent picture, like last week, and you can see that buck is in velvet. So send in your game pictures and all. Really exciting. People getting excited now about hunting season right around the corner. Yeah. But we were talking, to get back on those storms and all. The best thing we want to talk about preparation for the storm. We want people to, and October is right around the corner.
Yeah.
September.
Well, from mid-September to about mid-November is when, if we usually going to have some threats that come close to us, that's when it's going to be. And you want to, if you can, have a haul-out plan. We got some good shipyards here. We got 3 good shipyards that can probably accommodate a lot of boats. If you can't do that, then find you what they call a good hidey hole up in one of these bayous. And what you want to do always is don't pick the biggest tree to tie off on, but don't pick the smallest either. But pick some in a nice medium, and if you can get a cluster of 2 or 3, go around that cluster.
That's a good point.
And then and you can put the bow to that, and then anchor your stern out, because the stern is what's important to keep it in good water, because that's where all your running gear is. And you can ride it out. The other thing is it help your neighbors, because sometimes your neighbor might not be as good a boatman as you are and know enough, and especially these commercial guys, they know what they're doing. They've been doing it a long time, and they know how to weather these things, and they'll go in there and tie up. The worst thing that would be happening is a novice come in there, he thinks he knows what he's doing, do it wrong, then he gets blowed into them and creates them a problem. That's the only thing when you stay out there. At least when you haul out at the shipyard, if the boat does do anything, it might just lay over on its side. Well, that's repairable, and that will keep it. But if a boat sinks in this salt water, you got to rewire, you got engines, generators, everything, you're liable to total your boat out.
Yeah. And then, okay, on trailable boats, I just tell people, get them away from the water.
Get them away from the water at least a mile, and then you're all right.
Yeah,
because the storm surge is not going to go that far.
Yeah, and try to, if you can, put them out of the wind if you can,
Yes.
so the wind won't blow them over behind a building or house or garage.
Or in a building.
Or preferably in a building.
Yeah, if you can find a storage place that has indoor storage, that's, a lot of these boats fared real well in the dry storage.
Yeah.
Unless,
With up high and all that. So if you can trailer, now that's what I'm gonna do with my boats if it happens. I'm just gonna, get them away from the water and all, but out of the strong wind and everything. Well, and one final thing too, to take care of your animals.
Oh yeah.
Make sure your animals are. And most of y'all will, but make sure.
I do checking, and mine goes with me.
Oh yeah.
My dog's going with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't care if I got to drive all the way to Columbus, Georgia to my brother's. My dog's going with me.
Talking about dogs, I don't have time to get into. We're gonna run out of time, but we'll talk about this later. But animals they know. Dogs know what you're thinking. They have this knack, and they know when you're going out of town to go fishing or something because they want to go. They just have a certain.
Yes,
you just tell
do.
them. All right, we gotta go, buddy. Thanks.
Enjoy.
All right, man. Look, y'all have a great day today. Enjoy your Monday if you have a day off, and always be sure and do something good for your fellow man. You have a great day, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.